Hello, welcome to the Turret of Pleasure here in the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione. I am the Lord Chamberlain of the Enchanted Kingdom, Zip Gun, and I'm your host once again. Haven't been around for a while, haven't had a lot to talk about. I got a big pile of stuff here to show everybody. Just random stuff. And there's a fair bit of it. Maybe I'll just get straight to it. Most of it is from the thrift stores, of course. And, as always, the stuff I find in the thrift store is astonishing. It's just something else. But we're not going to start with the thrift stores because I, like many old men my age, got some gift certificates for Christmas for the local hip, if you will, record store, Ditch Records, and I was really happy to get those. And I also had a bunch of stuff I could trade in that I knew they would want. So in I go. I ended up with, I don't know, 90 bucks, 80 bucks. Now this is when I go in and I buy the stuff that's expensive. I get it on trade or whatever. It keeps it from being super painful. So this one, I bought a book. I bought a Paul Bley book called Stopping Time, which I highly recommend if you like Paul Bley or improvisatory jazz. And about, I think, 6 CDs. I'm going to start with Square Pusher's new one, or newish one. I'm not sure exactly how new this is. It's all electronica using the System 4.0, it says here. I don't know what to say about Square Pusher. It comes out, I give him my money, I take his product, I like it. This is high-end electronica, high energy. Play it when you're driving in the car. You're going to get in trouble, but it's really good. This popped up. Now, this apparently has been reissued by ECM. This was originally on JPO, and this was the companion record to another one called Ancient Africa. And Ancient Africa is literally one of my 5 favorite records of all time. This is only slightly less transcendent. Sunset in Blue. Now, I've been listening to a whole bunch of this stuff in my car, and I'll tell you what, the piano sound on this is wretched. It's just not any good at all. But that actually makes this record better, because he plays this very percussive style with the heavy ostinato on the left hand, and then he just goes nuts on the top on the other hand. And it just, Brajo from Kilimanjaro, 12 minutes. It's just this one bass line that just goes on and on and on and on. And he's just he's still a genius. I mean, he just played in Vancouver. He's well into his 80s. I almost went. But Abdullah Ibrahim, African piano. This came out under the name of Dollar Brand, but I learned about him as Dollar Brand. But he has since, I didn't even know there were notes. Who knew? Anyway, I was delighted to find this. I think it was 18 bucks or something. This is really cheap. It's pretty darn good. It's John Hartford. What do you want? John Hartford never made a bad record. And this is with the good old boys. What do they call it again? The Hartford String Band. And haven't really given this a good lesson. So I can't really tell you much about it. I bought this because my record is destroyed. And it's a terrible pressing anyways, and etc., etc. And I have been going through a bit of a thing where I'm rediscovering these guys. I bought, the capper for me was there's 3 bonus tracks. There's the 18-Karat Man of Means, which I'd never heard before, which was the B-side of Worst Band in the World. There was Gizmo My Way, which was the B-side of the Wall Street Shuffle, which I have on a 7-inch. Great little instrumental. And then there's the Worst Band in the World radio version. And I was like, what the hell did they edit out? Well, what they edit out is the part where they go up yours, up mine. They take out the ups. Anyway, this is I always maintain these guys were the Beatles in the 70s. I love their first 4 records. I have a real affection for Godley and Cream. And you know, I just they're really good. Their lyrics are a little puerile sometimes, but in 1972, what do you want? And this is another thing. Now, again, my vinyl copy of this is pooched, and I decided, oh, what the hell? It was there. It wasn't super expensive. I think it was $12 or something, or $10. And I hadn't listened to this record in a good long time. And it's funny how I didn't think much of this record when it came out. I thought it was just Beefheart tagging along with Zappa, which basically is kind of what it was. But it's funny how Zappa really went out of his way to incorporate Beefheart into the project. And I think Zappa actually had to kind of maybe even leave his comfort zone a bit to do this. And so it's a lot better record than I thought back when I first heard it. Advanced Romance goes on for a while. There's a couple, you know, this was when Frank was making dough off of his funny, quote unquote, lyrics. And what does this? Oh, live in concert, right? Oh, it says here. That can't be right. Sam with the showing scalp flat top. It says wasn't recorded live in concert. I think it must have been. Selected studio wonderment. Cucamonga was studio. And most of Muffin Man I thought was studio, but I could be wrong. At any rate, 200 Years Old, where Beefheart basically does a co-vocal. Beefheart plays a lot of pretty good harmonica on this record. And other than the two poems, which are strictly him, and the rest of the band kind of doesn't do much of anything because it's just they're such strange poems. But like Deborah Cadabra's Beefheart's the singer. Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy, I don't think he's even on that. Sam with the Showing Scalp Flat Top is him alone. Hoopter's Froth, Wyoming Plans Ahead is sort of a country song, and that's Beefheart doing his best to sing a song that Zappa, I think, wrote for him to sing. And it's okay. 200 Years Old is kind of Beefheart coming in. So it's pretty good. Muffin Man, I don't think has anything to do with Beefheart, but it was a weird, if you know the story, Zappa was, Herb Cohen and Zappa and Beefheart were all coming to an end of their relationship, and for a while Beefheart couldn't even perform under his own name, or at least he was in so much legal problems he couldn't work. So Zappa took him on as a member of his band. I found this. This was used. This was actually a pretty good price, and I really like R.L. Burnside. And I forgot all about this CD. I'd never seen it. I've been fortunate that I found a goodly chunk of his stuff, believe it or not, in the thrift stores. And but I'll buy this guy in the expensive store. And this in the car has been terrific. And just him on an acoustic guitar and singing. A lot of the time I can't understand a word he's saying, and it doesn't matter a bit. Just like a bird without a feather. Really good rural Mississippi blues. I think this was done in the 60s. But it's just great. So that was the expensive stuff. I think that all added up to that, and the book was close to $100. There was a couple of pretty expensive things there. The rest of the stuff, thrift stores. Much of this courtesy of the Empress, who just has a nose for this stuff. And now she'll phone me up and say, what do you think? So, what do you think? Should I buy the Blood Nasty CD? Well, I recorded this, and I don't believe I ever received a copy of it. So there you go. Destroy Authority. They don't care. Humanity is doomed, out of control. Punk rock, like they don't hardly make no more. Scales of Justice. Well, it doesn't say what year. All it says is Blood Nasty at yahoo.ca. See a shit. And then there's stuff at the bottom that's been cut off. I can't read it. Anyway, great to have that. A friend of mine noticed that I had 3 vinyl copies of this CD and asked me if he could trade me, of this record I had on LP, sorry. And he had the CD, and he's a vinyl guy, so he says, could I trade? And I said, sure. So now I have this on CD. This is a great record. The X are an amazing band. How do you describe the X in 25 words or less? anarcho, improv, noise, rock, prog, poetry. um, they discovered Ethiopian music, apparently partly because of a tape I sent a friend of mine. And then they did a couple of records in Ethiopia that are terrific with Ethiopian musicians. They're just crazy. They're stalwarts of the squat scene from the 90s. And they are terrific live. If you can ever see them live, they're great. They've made a million records. A lot of them are really different from each other. This one is one of their earlier ones, and it's more, I think this is it's not a bad place to start for these guys. Joggers and Smoggers on the old Conquerant label, which I also recorded for quite happily. The Empress found this, and I think it was $2. It plays. It's not in very good shape. Scum Dogs of the Universe. Now, I saw Guar, which is who this is, on this tour. They were hysterical. I mean, the amount of flying fake blood was truly epic. I saw the drum of fake blood in their van when they left. But you know what? At this distance, that was a long time ago. When would that have been? Glenn Parfit and I went, and we laughed until we hurt. It's in really tiny print. Doesn't think you're gonna come on. 1989, really? Oh, 1990. Master Records. Warner Communications doing. Yeah, okay. Anyway, this is mostly dreadful, but it's funny. Slaughterama was especially funny. Vlad the Impaler. Yeah, you know. You had to be there. But for $1, I'll own it. And the Empress found this. The remastered. I haven't listened to this in a long time. And it's a pretty damn good record. It sure sounds old. Like it sounds like it's from the 60s. And the stereo separation and stuff is pretty nuts. But, you know, it's like I still like SWLABR, which I figure she walks like a something. It's still a really great hard pop rock song. Okay, now we're going to take a really serious left turn. Because I like a lot of everything, really. And so, for cheap, I'll buy stuff that's like, maybe not in my wheelhouse. But I like Mel Torme. And I found these. Now, this is from Columbia did this a while back. They would put out some of their classic records from the 60s, and they reissued them with some care. Of course, most of their records in the 60s were super short, so they would often gang up records with other stuff. In this case, That's All, which is a ballad record by Mel. They ganged it up with 12 sides, 6 singles, really, I think. And they made a nice, pretty damn good 24-track or whatever it is CD of Mel's mellow side when he recorded for Columbia. And then the other one there, which is great, because you always find these in pairs or in groups, is Mel Torme Right Now, which is a different album. There are bonus tracks again. I forget where the bonus tracks come from, but this record is not ballads. This is hip stuff current to the time. So you got stuff like, what is on here? Red Rubber Ball by The Circle. Really? Pretty Flamenco by Manfred Mann. Secret Agent Man. Strangers in the Night. If I Had a Hammer. My Little Red Book by Love. I might have to hear that. I don't think I've heard that one. You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. So this was them trying to make him contemporary. And it didn't work so good. But it's worth owning for cheap. And I like Mel. Mel is really cool. Mel, the Velvet Fog. But Mel is not Blue Eyes. And Blue Eyes, I have a fascination with old Blue Eyes. And I was delighted. And there's a great thrift story in this, in that I found this one first. Now you'll note these are separate. I don't remember how these came. They might have come in a slipcase or something. I don't remember. But at any rate, I have this on vinyl, and the vinyl is some kind of deal. It's silver paper. It's got a slipcase with three inner sleeves that have the records. This record was a big fucking deal. Frank had been retired for a while. He came back, and he was. He still, of course, owned Reprise Records. This would have been '78 or something. But he was old, and his voice was fraying, and he was contemplating what it's like to die, I guess. So in the '79 or so, he came up with the idea. I'm sure it was him that he was going to do a 3-record set, which would be past, present, and future, the trilogy. This was going to be a grand statement by Old Blue Eyes, and it's, of course, 1980, late in his career. So the past was done by Billy May, was the arranger, and it's old songs that I don't think he actually did before. Let's Face the Music and Dance, My Shining Hour, More Than You Know, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty good if you're a Sinatra nut. Then Some Very Good Years, which is the present. Don Costa does this one. He does Something by George Harrison, and apparently I remember it being really good. Like, again, this is Frank. If you're not into Frank, you're wasting your time here. Song Sung Blue, which is terrible. That's What God Looks Like. That's no good either. MacArthur Park is kind of So anyway, he's trying to be current anyway in this, and he's kind of, it's okay. However, but now here's the thing. I found disc number 1, which features those 2 records on it. But disc number 2 of the CD set has disc number 3 from the LP set, and this 3 is The Future. Reflections on the Future in 3 Tenses by Gordon Jenkins, who composed and orchestrated this. This is an original suite of songs where Frank contemplates the future. What time does the next miracle leave? World War None. Oh dear, Song Without Words. The Future. This is really bad. So bad that it's great. I forgot to crush this and put it in the car, because I think I want this to just randomly come around every so often. There's 6 tracks on this. I think it's meant to be some kind of oratorio, or it's hard to say. But what can be said about this was his last really big kick at the can. It's all over the place. It's marred by all the things you would expect that would mar a Sinatra record. There's a whole lot of ego involved here. It's still pretty good, and again, Blue Eyes had his moments. So anyway, there you go. I was $2 I got. I found the first one, and I was like, oh, where's the second one? And I searched the entire thrift store, and every once in a while, there's a kind of a karma thing in thrift stores. When I would find 2 CDs from a set that were separated, I always put them together, put them back. And sometimes I'd find things like, the World of the Baroque Orchestra. There'd be 4 of them in the thrift store, and I'd put all 4 of them together, all 4 volumes, and so somebody would find them. Oh, great. For me, that's the karma. Anyway, I looked, and it was there. The second one was there. It was far, far away. I was overjoyed. There you go. Thrift store karma for you. This one is really weird. Now, this is actually kind of hard to find. Jan Ackerman, Tabernacle. Now, this is another one of these. It's both horrible and great. Jan Ackerman's a very, very good guitar player. Played in the band Focus. Focus were pretty popular for a couple of years in the early 70s. And because he was kind of one of the 2 leaders, really, and they had a deal with Atlantic, he started making solo records, and they really seemed to be exercises in how to prove to the world what a smart guy he was and what a great guitar player he was. So, to that end, this record, which is a Japanese pressing of this CD, it got released by Wounded Bird in 2004. Like, it's a bit of a cult item. This is great. Trying to read the print on this is forget it. But for the most part, it's him doing John Dowland and Anthony Holborn lute music on the lute. He plays the lute. And the arrangements are rather curiously by a guy named George Flynn, who's a classical, well, contemporary composer. Did a couple of records for Finadar Records, and he's an avant-garde dude. But he plays harpsichord. He's also a harpsichord scholar. And so there's a whole selection of these Renaissance pieces. There's a piece that's sort of a jam called Javed. And then there's a piece called Lammy, which is like 14-minute long, super grandiose prog rock piece with, of all people, Bogart in a Piece from Beck Bogart in a Piece playing in the rhythm section. There's a choir, there's an orchestra, there's everything. It is prog rock overblown to the nth degree. It's kind of okay, but it's actually mostly horrible. But I think I'm going to keep it. I did not have this. Who doesn't have this? Come on. This was $1. My wife bought it. She said, I don't think you have this, do you? And I went, yeah, no, I do. Oh, wait, I don't. So now I do. It's great. It's classic. What do I need to tell you? Here's another one. She also found this and thought, I don't know, I just like the cover. And Commander Cody is great. He did 4 records for Paramount, which are all really pretty good. This is the best. This has Hot Rod Lincoln on it. Kind of, how do you describe this? Sort of a stoner country swing. And this is their first record. It's unencumbered by fame and other nonsense. They were pretty hard drinkers and smokers. After their 4 records with Paramount, of all record labels, that got bought by ABC, which went to MCA, and so they got picked up by Warner Brothers, and Warner's assigned a guy named John Boylan to produce them, and they wrote a great book about it called The Star-Making Machinery, which is a fascinating book about a band and one record and like the story of that record. Great book. Commander Cody are great. This I bought. This was, I think, 50 cents. Bobby McFerrin and Chick Corea. Now, I really like Chick Corea sometimes, not always. Bobby McFerrin I have trouble with. This, I'm sorry, folks, this is awful. I can't listen to this record. It's so cutie pie and squeaky clean, and I hate it. I'm gonna throw it away. However, to counter for this, I found this. Now, I put all the classical stuff I found in this batch somewhere else because nobody cares. But George Crumb, you want to hear George Crumb? This is delightfully a CD of 2 LPs that I have that I'm really happy to have on CD because this music's very quiet and surface noise will fuck it up. Crumb is a really interesting, unique American composer. I think he's dead now, born in 1929. Wrote some amazing piano music. Wrote a lot of music that's hard to pin where it's from. You'd think it was from Asia, maybe. Speaking of world music, I found a Lyricord CD. Lyricord is known for really, really, really straight ethnic world recordings. Usually they're not very good recordings. They've made 1 million records. The Sounds of West Africa, the kora and the xylophone. You know what? Again, in the car, this is great. The recording is fine for the car. Okay, now we're going to get... Now, I know I tell people, I bitch about people doing reviews of stuff they haven't listened to, and I haven't listened to this stuff. So, guilty as charged, but the Empress found this. Jazz en Verve. Swing and Jazz Classique. Now, this looks like some pretty good stuff. Somebody bought it for $17 once. Louis Armstrong, Kid Ory and Red Allen, Johnny Hodges and Earl Hines, Lionel Hampton, Coleman Hawkins, Ella Fitzgerald. Now, I noticed it's all recorded in the 50s. It's not recorded back when it was being sort of formulated. So the recordings are all really good. And it's old music done well. This one, I'm waiting to listen to this. Now, I know just about nothing about Betty LaVette or Carol Fran, for that matter. But this is the singles that they did for Calla, Post, and Roulette. in the 60s. These are Northern Soul staples, which means that they're minor soul singles. That doesn't mean they're not any good. They're actually probably great. And again, the Empress found this and was on the phone. It's on stateside, and she's describing it. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, well, she goes, the roulette. I said, roulette. Okay, buy it, sure. I think it was $1. And then finally, and I had to mention this because she sort of said, oh, there's all of these Graham Parker CDs. And I'm like, Graham, really? What are they? And she rattled the names of all 5 of these off. And you know what? I didn't remember the names of any of them. And so I'm going to put these in the car. I'm going to get back to you about these. But these are all Bloodshot. This one's called Songs of No Consequence. Your Country, which is on Bloodshot. This one's on Razor and Tie. What's it called? Deep Cut to Nowhere. Struck by Lightning, which is on BMG, and this is on Bloodshot. So these are all recent Parker records. Some of them are rockier than others. One of them, I think, is a country record. But Graham Parker, if you're old like me, you'll remember in the 70s when he put out records with his band The Rumor that were absolutely top flight. And he has settled it. Like after The Rumor and him kind of parted ways, I just forgot about him, and like me and everybody else. Now, he's a really good songwriter. I can't believe that these CDs aren't chock-a-block full of good songs that, you know, if you can imagine The Rumor playing on them would be A+. Nothing against the bands that play with him, but The Rumor were pretty special. They were like the British version of the Band, kind of, a lot of people say. But I'm really looking forward to those. But there you go. That's about a month and a half of thrift store finds, and the stuff on the bottom, $100 worth of ditch stuff, which is not bad. There was like 7 or 8 pieces for $100, so that's okay. And then maybe, I don't know, 25 other CDs for about $25. There you go. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. I got other stuff in the pipeline. I'm gonna do that. But I'll keep you appraised as to what's out there. Keep digging those thrift stores. You never know what you're going to find. And yeah, thanks for watching. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon.